Hey friend, welcome back to the Vision Driven Health Podcast, your go-to show for learning how to create healthy habits that last in partnership with the God who created you. If you're someone who's found yourself on the yo-yo dieting train, who feels powerless to sweets and cravings, who has actually created healthy habits and experienced progress only to fall back into old patterns, this episode is for you. Today, my guest, Julie, shares her experience with losing 90 pounds and maintaining that weight loss for 17 years using a 12-step process and how she's cultivated a humble and freeing dependence on God. You won't want to miss it. Let's get into it. Do you find yourself struggling to consistently implement healthy habits? Do you lack energy, confidence, and motivation because of stress, overwhelm, and shame for having not gotten it together by now? Friend, there is hope and grace for your health. Hey, I'm Robin Ryan McDonald, host of the Vision Driven Health Podcast. I'm a follower of Jesus, a wife, a mama of two, and a seminarian turned health coach. And I'm so excited that you're here. I found myself in my early 20s captive to cravings and convenience. 20 pounds heavier, super tired, with a face full of acne. I could not figure out how to maintain healthy habits until I discovered the power of aligning my choices with God's vision. 10 years and 2 kids later, by the grace of God, I'm still prioritizing my health and feeling amazing. If you are over quick fixes and are ready to feel good in your own skin, then grab a giant water bottle and let's dive on in. As a reminder, the Vision Driven Health Podcast is under the umbrella of Naval Health Incorporated. The content on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended for medical advice. It does not take the place of medical advice or treatment from a physician. Listeners should consult their own doctor or a qualified healthcare professional for specific health concerns and questions. In this episode, we talk a lot about sugar and the addiction it can be. And really, the only way to overcome anything in life is to surrender it to God and to allow Him to get us through. My team and I created the 5-day sugar fast devotional as a way to kickstart this process by laying down that which has entangled us and picking up a dependence and focus on God for our health journeys. You can get this resource totally free at visiondrivenhealth.com/sugarfast. Friend, today we have Julie Kleinhans, and she's the founder of Reshape and Recover, a Christ-centered 12-step online program helping people break free from emotional eating, food addiction, and the cycles of shame and dieting. We love that. After personally losing 90 pounds and maintaining her recovery for over 17 years, Julie combines biblical truth, personal experience, and 12-step wisdom to guide others towards deep, lasting transformation, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Alongside her is her husband, Tony, who's a coach and a counselor with over 25 years of experience, including leading faith-based 12-step programs and helping individuals overcome a wide range of struggles. Together, they bring a powerful blend of recovery expertise, Christian faith, and compassionate support to their community. Amen. So grateful and excited to have you on, Julie. Thanks for being on the show.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, I mean, just reading your bio and even, when we were chatting about having you on, I'm just like, this sounds good. I love that. And something I focus a lot on with my show and my clients, I say our 2 pillars are being vision driven and grace fueled. And the grace piece is one, grace obviously covers when we're feeling that shame, but grace also enables us to move forward in partnership with God and in step with Him. And I think one of the biggest challenges people face with consistency is shame. But I would love to get into your guys' process and how you all support people. But I think one thing you guys do really well is helping people kind of overcome the endless cycle of just trying harder and willpower and just trying to self-control yourself into better results. So In your opinion, Julie, what makes overcoming overeating so difficult, and why is it more than just a matter of willpower or self-control?
Well, it's really a threefold problem. It is physical, emotional or mental, and spiritual. We have a God-sized hole in our hearts
Right,
that
right.
we fill with so many different things, and food is one of them. And also the physical aspect is real. It is a real addiction, and I think that there's been research in the last, I don't know, at least 10 years proving that sugar is as addictive as cocaine,
Right.
heroin. And I think we know that in our hearts, but when we're presented with a sugary treat, it just still feels like, well, I can just have one. But just like the alcoholic can't have just one, they still need to drink. They need to drink water and they can have other things also,
Hmm.
um, but they just can't drink alcohol or it starts their addiction all over again and they begin to get drunk. Same thing is true with people who are addicted to sugar. And it often feels like, well, I'm not addicted to it. Yeah, I eat too much of it, but I'm not really addicted to it. And the question is, if so, why, or if you're not addicted to it, why is it so difficult to stop
Yeah, yeah.
or to give it up entirely? It's like I would have no problem giving up broccoli. I love broccoli. I really like it, but I won't ever overeat it. And if you said that it was poison and I needed to give it up, it'd be no problem.
Yeah, yeah.
But you ask me to give up cookies and brownies, which it took me several years to be willing to give those up, but I finally gave them up in April of 2008, and I haven't
Hmm.
had any cookies, brownies, donuts, cake, pie since then.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I honestly, I do miss it. But on the other hand, it's poison to me, and I never want to go back to the way I used to eat. And so, in that way, I don't miss it at all, and I'm done with it. So, to get to that point is it's really understanding that it is a physical addiction and there is a mourning process. We go through, oh, it's not fair, and I really want it. But once we get over that, it feels so much better in your body, in your head, to be rid of it forever. And then the emotional part of it too usually starts for most of us when we were young because we were given treats for celebration, for hard times. Oh, you're having a bad day here, have a cookie. And our parents didn't mean to harm us. And I did the same thing to my kids, not understanding then that sugar is so addictive, but
Hmm.
just wanting to love my children. And that's how our parents were too, not understanding that it's addictive for so many people. And so that comfort, that celebration has been in like ingrained in us and it's become a habit, which habits are hard to break, as we
Hmm.
know. So a new mindset and then prayer and just covering your life with prayer is so important. And and then yeah, and also getting over that shame that you were talking about. There's so much shame in this. It's like, well, if I could just put the fork down, and I've heard that before, just put the fork down. If something tastes good, just spit it out. And it's like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not
No.
it's not about willpower. No.
Okay, so you mentioned, how sugar and processed foods can be addictive. How do those foods actually impact the brain and the body in ways that actually create real addiction? Yeah, let's start with that because I think yes, and there has absolutely been research that shows that sugar is as or more addictive than cocaine. I think in the rat study, the rats preferred the sugar over the cocaine and became addicted to that primarily. And there's 100% that element to it. So how do those foods affect our brain and our body?
Well, physically, I'm not really sure, but I do know that the research has shown that different parts of your brain light up during the addiction for heroin, and those same parts of the brain light up for sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does definitely affect our brains and makes us want it more. It makes that mental obsession happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a physical addiction and a mental obsession both.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard to give it up and usually takes the support of a group. And I believe the 12 steps are important and sometimes counseling. And all of that goes in to help you get over that physical and mental obsession.
Yeah, and even from a physical standpoint of what is typically going on, there is an addiction from the standpoint of the reward center loop, right? In your brain, where having the sugar activates that reward and creates that pattern. But then additionally, we become something that's called carb dependent. Our blood sugar, we end up in a vicious cycle with our blood sugar. We end up in a pattern of metabolic dysfunction where in order to feel like we have energy, our body has become conditioned to pursue refined processed carbohydrates. There are definitely good carbohydrates, and I encourage clients to have that. But what happens is they end up dependent in this pattern versus having a more balanced blood sugar approach where those cravings actually, when you balance your blood sugar, the cravings go away. The way that you feel about food completely shifts because your body is being actually nourished by what it needs, which is protein, healthy fats, fiber, micronutrients, and the like. And so it enables us to be able to function in a way where we don't feel like an addict because we've balanced those systems in our body. So, what practical steps do you encourage people to take to break free physically?
Well, like you said, making sure you're getting enough protein. And I've heard as much as 25 to 35 grams per meal
Oh, of
is what
course,
you
yeah.
need. And it's going to vary depending on the person, because not everyone, um, definitely check with your doctor, but I think 25 to 35 grams per meal is going to make you feel full and also getting balanced nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the healthy fats, but not too many fats. And then also getting, you do need carbs, your body does need carbs, but you can get most of what you need from vegetables and fruit. So yeah, definitely if your body is getting enough nutrients and water, you need 8 to 12 glasses of water a day. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That is really going to help with the physical addiction. And so yeah, I do definitely recommend people change up their diets to make sure that they're not feeling like they're craving still.
Yeah, and people I think would be surprised if you can be consistent in consuming what's called a low glycemic diet, which is just what you described, where it's very nutrient dense, it's got high protein, moderate healthy fats, and those fibrous plant options. Um, it only takes a couple days before your body begins to shift, and you don't want the same kinds of foods as strongly. It's not like, oh, it's a miracle. Like, now I never want to eat a cookie again. But it's more
Yep.
like that urge, that compelling feeling that feels like you can't control it, significantly decreases because your body actually doesn't perceive that it is an absolute essential thing to consume. Um, so then it sounds like you and your husband do a lot with like the 12 step, which I think is super cool. How can the 12-step process and mindset renewal help someone address the emotional and mental side of their food struggles?
Well, just as a brief summary for the 12 steps,
Yeah.
step one is so important where you need to acknowledge that there is an addiction to the sugar, because without that acknowledgement, you really don't have a need to abstain from or stay away from those kinds of foods.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be tricky to get over, but then once you do that, you're free to understand that God can help you with this and he wants to help us with this.
Mm-hmm.
That was a struggle that I had. Yes, I believed in God. I thought I had step two just down pat, but did I really believe that he wanted to help me with my food addiction? I thought he had more important things to do than to worry
Right.
about that. But he has numbered every hair on our head.
Right.
And that tells us how important we are to him, everything about us, even
Mm-hmm.
something as insignificant as a strand of hair. So, and then Zephaniah 3:17 says that he sings loudly over us, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing to me. He sings
Mm-hmm.
loudly over me because he's so happy that I am part of his family. That's just amazing to me. So I know he loves me and he's willing to help me. And everyone, it's not just me.
Yes.
And then step three is being willing to turn your life and your food over to God, to ask him for help
Mm-hmm.
and to receive that help every day, multiple times a day. So I recommend to people they start their day with prayer and pray throughout the day.
Right.
God's word tells us to pray unceasingly.
Yeah.
So, and then steps 4 through 9 are really healing steps.
Mm.
They help you figure out where your behaviors have come from
Mm-hmm.
and what the patterns are, what's your part in it. We've all been hurt, and it's really it's hard here on this earth. It's not an easy road, and we've all had hurts, small to really traumatic.
Right. Right.
And so, but recognizing what the patterns are and what
Mm-hmm.
our part is in it, even if we're complete victims and did nothing wrong, we still can move on and go on through forgiveness and love in Christ and move on, and then heal from those pasts through forgiveness and love, and that healing helps us move on, and the steps really help with that. Sometimes it takes more than that. Sometimes it takes counseling too, because some
Yeah.
really traumatic things have happened in the past.
Right.
I've heard some really heartbreaking stories from people, and I totally get why we're a society that is addicted to food, because
Mm-hmm.
life is hard.
Right. Right.
And then steps 10 through 12 are great maintenance steps. Our
Okay.
10th step is like a little mini steps 4 through 9 every day,
Hmm.
keeps us current in our behaviors and our relationships with others. And it's, I think a lot of times those relationships really affect us and cause us to want to eat things that we
Mm-hmm.
know are going to cause us to overeat.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then step 11 is all about prayer and meditation and growing in your relationship with God. And then the 12th step is going out there and telling others your story, which is so important because it reminds us where we were and
Mm-hmm.
why we don't ever want to go back. So we're not only helping others, but we're helping ourselves
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
also, and keeping us in maintenance.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the 12 step has been a proven process and a huge part of the challenges with food addiction and whatnot. Like, we talked briefly about the biological, but I have had other guests and I'm definitely of the opinion that, you can you can will yourself into eating clean for a week. You can experience that shift in reduced cravings. You can be on track for a while. But this 12-step process is so important because if that underlying trauma, if the things that those triggers, the things in your past that drove you to have that unhealthy pattern of eating in the first place, if that's not give into the Lord to be healed and redeemed, yeah, we're just a few steps away from falling right back where we started. And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves in this process. It's like, oh yeah, I was so good. I was on track for it. And sometimes for a while, it could be months, it could be years. But the statistic says that anybody who loses a significant amount of weight usually gains it back and sometimes more. 95% of people gain it back and or more within 5 years. So if you don't make it to that 5 year mark, and sometimes, you make it to the 5 year mark and you still stumble or whatever, but a lot of people don't, right? It'll be a few months, it'll be a couple years. But at the end of the day, I love that you're focusing on this and you've been able to guide people through this process because that's where we're kind of looking back and tying up filling in those holes of our past that we might like fall back into and allowing God to do that. And I love that it really comes down to recognizing I can't do this without God. And that's life. Like literally, that is life. We need him. We get to be dependent on him. And I love how you were describing his love for you as it applies to all of us. But I love how you kind of like almost got lost for a moment on like his love for you because that's how it feels. Like it is this personal, intimate connection that every single one of us get to have. And it's from that recognition and realization that we get to honestly entrust these things to him. Because if we can't trust him with our trauma, if we can't trust him with the things, like you said, sometimes we've been victimized by, we're not going to be able to move forward. So I love, love, love that. So then I touched on that just now a little bit, but in your experience in this process that you work on, Julie, what role does faith play in healing from food addiction? And how can someone lean on biblical truths to strengthen their recovery journey?
Really feel strongly that in order to do that well, you need a community.
Yeah.
And that has been really helpful for me. And that I lost my weight through Overeaters Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And the community I had found there, they were Overeaters Anonymous is not a Christian organization.
Okay.
But I had found a meeting where most of the members were Christians.
Cool.
And so we had a really strong connection. And then I went through a divorce and
Mm.
got remarried uh, over a year later, and then moved. And then I moved again across
Mm.
state, and trying to find another group like that, I just wasn't able to find it. And
Yeah.
I was watching my weight kind of creep back up,
Yeah.
and I was getting scared. But I couldn't find a group that wasn't hostile to Christianity.
Mm.
So I created Reshape and Recover. And
Cool.
we're real small right now. We just have 7 members. But we're really intimate. We're all strong Christians and support each other. And I did lose 10 pounds.
Nice.
So that was great.
Yeah.
And, I'm 61 years old, and I'm never going to be one of those people you see on Facebook in their bikini.
Yeah.
But I am so happy with 130 pounds instead of 220 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not stick thin, but I am healthy. I'm at a healthy weight for my height.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the support group is really what does it. And we build each other up. We build each other up with our faith. And we often are posting, we have a WhatsApp group in addition to meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And the WhatsApp group, we check in, and we've got several people who are posting Bible verses, and it's just
Nice.
very cool. And we're praying for each other. And I think that the faith with the community, and that's why God's word tells us to meet together,
Mm-hmm.
how important it is. And the cord of 3 strands, and
Yeah.
the other Bible verses that encourage us to support each other. It's just so important. and I just don't think I can do it without help. And not long term. So
Mm-hmm.
even though I haven't had any of my binge foods since 2008, that doesn't mean that, I'm immune to being right back where I was
Mm-hmm.
after a lifetime of yo-yo dieting. I know myself, and I know I need a community, and I need God's help.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally what we're created for, right? Like, as God's creation of humanity, He made us to be in community. He made us to be the body of Christ. And, we have that metaphor of the body, and literally we can't be disconnected. We can't have, fingers and toes running off this way and organs going that way. Like, it all has to come together. We're meant to function in synergy and in connection, and we experience God in a greater capacity by being together. The way that God is revealed through you, Julie, is different than the way that God is revealed through me, as God is revealed to someone else. And because we're each this like tiny snippet of his image, right? We are his image bearers, and we get to show who he is. And it's such a beautiful, powerful thing that we have community. And again, we're made for it. We're not made to do things in isolation. The other thing I love about what you're saying, Julie, is how and just the way you're talking in this whole process, it sounds like such a humble posture. And I think the Lord is able to do his best work when we find ourselves in that place of humility of like, yeah, no, literally cannot do this on my own. No matter how hard I try, no matter, how much effort I put into this, it's it's not going to happen. And even too, to try to do it even just with God without community is still not operating in God's ultimate design. And so I think it's so cool to hear how you found this posture with the Lord and your journey and your struggle. And I think being able for someone to be able to get there is a huge piece of the puzzle to creating breakthrough in their health journey. So, someone's hearing you, Julie, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. She's lost 90 pounds. Wow, I can't believe like, she's been able to maintain that for so long. And people, would probably be asking, well, what would you say to someone who's like, okay, that's cool for you, but like I've tried so many things. I feel stuck. Like I'm so ashamed. I feel so dumb. Like I don't know why I can't get a grip on this, or there's no way I could even make the time to cook, or I'm just overwhelmed. What would you say to someone in that place?
I'd say, give the 12 steps a try. And when Alcoholics Anonymous first got started, what they did is they would go into the hospitals, and you're not going to find too many people who are overeaters in the hospital because they got drunk off of food. But um, they would go into the hospitals and they would do all 12 steps right there. And I just believe, because I've been in Overeaters Anonymous long enough that I saw people come and go through the program. They weren't working the steps. So
Mm,
you could join and work the 12 steps as fast as you can. And the promise is halfway through step 9, the obsession is lifted. And that doesn't happen for everybody. And I don't know the reason for it. I think sometimes maybe they're not completely honest, and their 4th and 5th steps maybe aren't completely thorough. Uh, I'm not really sure. Sometimes it's a mental illness and they maybe need some additional counseling to get over things. But I believe that if you really work the steps, it can happen for you too. And you just need to remain open and honest, and give it a try.
yeah. So if someone wants to be a part of your group and have access to, um, your process and whatnot, what what would that look like?
Well, because I was with Overeaters Anonymous for so long, and I was actually chairman at the regional or the local level for a few years, I understand the process and I know how to put things together, programs together. So we have an Overeaters Anonymous type of meeting Saturday mornings, although it's filled with Jesus. And I will let anyone in. You don't have to be a Christian, but just know if you join, you're going to hear about Jesus.
That's
So,
awesome.
and so we have our meetings, and the lessons that my husband and I do together end up as the podcast. So you can hear us on
Mm.
Spotify and Apple and iHeartRadio.
Mm-hmm.
And if you search for Reshape and Recover, hopefully you'll find us. I also have on my website at reshapeandrecover.com. And is spelled out as not an ampersand.
Mm-hmm.
I have a link to the podcast there also. So we have those meetings, and then we have Thursday evening meetings where we just go through the steps, and that's our main focus. And then on Tuesday mornings now we have a new phone prayer meeting. It's just a half hour.
Ah,
We check in and ask for prayer requests. We always start with a short devotion that somebody reads, and then we pray for each other. And then I have a WhatsApp group, so we are texting daily. And I've got two different tiers of membership. The basic one is $37 a month, and you get everything that I just mentioned. Plus, when you start, I help you develop a meal plan
oh,
and
nice.
an action plan. And then the higher tier, you get a weekly coaching call.
Oh, nice.
And with the basic one, you get a monthly coaching call. But with the higher tier one, which is $97 a month, you get the weekly coaching call. And also you can send me your food every day, which can be really helpful for some people, especially when you're starting. And that's the one that I recommend to start with, just because it's hard to get over this addiction. And then once you're feeling, okay, I think I've got this, then moving down to the lower cost one. I want to make this affordable for everybody long term.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not let's fix this and then you move on with your life. This is something that doesn't go away. And so I really want to make it affordable for people to stay.
I think those prices are extremely affordable, for sure. Well, very cool. So people can find your podcast, Reshape and Recover. They can go to reshapeandrecover.com, and get details all about this. And all of these meetings you're mentioning, they're virtual. People from all over the place are able to have access.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Julie, thank you so much for being on the show, for sharing your heart, your experience, your journey, and for inviting people into this really cool way of addressing some of the deeper things that trip us up and in being consistent in our healthy habits. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to the Vision Driven Health Podcast today. I hope this episode inspired you, supported you, and blessed you in some way. If it did, it would mean the world if you would leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast and share this episode on your social media. The more reviews and shares this gets, the more people can be blessed and encouraged in creating a Jesus-centered, sustainable, healthy lifestyle. If you want to hang with me and other Jesus-loving ladies who are creating healthy habits that last, be sure to join my free Facebook group, the Made Well Mastermind. Use the link in the show notes to join. Be blessed with hope, joy, and health. I'll see you next week. Again, the Vision Driven Health Podcast is under the umbrella of Made Well Health Incorporated. The content on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended for medical advice. It does not take the place of medical advice or treatment from a physician. Listeners should consult their own doctor or a qualified healthcare professional for specific health concerns and questions.